When you hear the sound of the bell, you know you're in the championship rounds with King Amin of Essex. You guys see what that bell does to me. It just sparks something within me. And I'm here to spark off some excitement about women's boxing because that's what I do. And not much of a recap of what's going on, but I got to tell you about some movement, some things that are happening. Let's start with the super flyweight division. That's 115 pounds. I talk about this vision with some criticism, sometimes with optimism. Title bouts have been announced. Asley Gonzalez, who hasn't defended her title since March of 2023 against Lourdes Suarez, and that was a rematch of another bout. She'll be defending her WBC title against Mary Romero. Shout out to her. Mary Romero has very competitive losses to, or should I say, she has competed against Dina Thorslin, Ellie Scotney, and some competitive bouts. A controversial loss most recently to Rihanna Rios at bantamweight. However, she's moving up to moving down rather, and trying to capture a title at 115. Not a bad idea since Gonzalez has been kind of a sitting duck, not really doing much with the title. As such, Jenny Fuchs is the WBC interim title at 115. So that shows you how little Gonzalez has been doing to defend that title. Unfortunately, running theme at 115, but we're going to continue on. Like my man in a KRS-One video, y'all don't remember, Love's Go Get You, said, now let us move on. All right. Irma Garcia. All right. Again, keeping it in the 115-pound division. Now, she's the IBF champion. She's defending her title against Gloria Gallardo. This is December 14th, so this is next month. She's the IBF champ. Now, Garcia is a bit more active. Good wins over Cecilia Roman and then Daniela Bermudez, who just recently fought Nina Menke for a world title. So, 126, 122. See these fighters. And even if you look at, what Mary Romero's doing, 115 to 118, you got to get in where you fit in as far as the weight classes. It happens in the men's, but I think more frequently in women. So that's why sometimes you see these names cycled around and it sometimes seems strange. Wow, this person fought at this weight, but sometimes it does make sense. These are instances where it did make sense. So it makes sense that we're getting movement in title defenses at 115. I mean, finally, right? One person who's not giving us movement or making a title defense is the WBO champion, Mizuki Hiruta from Japan. She's 6-0 with 2 KOs. Last fought in January of this year. Have you seen her? Tell me, have you seen her? Because I have not. Come on, girl. You got to defend that title, as does a friend of mine, Clara Lescurat. Maybe more Samson Likowitz's fault. He's the promoter, but Clara is 11-0, 4 stoppages. Great fighter. I love her spirit. From Argentina. Last win over Linda Lindstrom, who's I think ranked highest in the WBA. Title doesn't make sense. In reality, you have the contenders. You have Jasmine Artiga, of course. You got Leanna Cruz. Now, what's interesting enough, Leanna Cruz is the WBA Gold or WBA International. So I believe her and Lescurat should be on a collision course at some point, We'll have to see how and if that turns out. But let us move on. Okay. Bantamweight division action. This is one of my favorites, and we're gonna have to start by talking about one of the lesser mentioned champions in the division. That is Amanda Gaye out of Canada. Maybe because she's fought lesser known competition. Nonetheless, she is the IBO champ, 10-0, 10-0-1 rather, with 1 KO. She's going to be defending her title against Neoriquis Karina out of Venezuela, who this is actually a rematch between the two, and also how I mentioned fighters go between divisions. Well, Karina has been in there, lost by unanimous decision to Dina Thorslin. So She's been in a title bout before. Let's see if she, kind of brings some of that experience, or let's just see if, Gaye has her number. Now, we're hoping, the IBO are kind of, you don't get to see the IBO rankings as some of the other divisions. So I don't know who's going to be set to challenge, but yeah, maybe one of my friends at the law firm of what is it? Wan Yu Howling and damn, what's the girl from Ohio? Fudge. Damn. Sims, right? But then I just mentioned Rihanna Rios. Is she in the mix somehow? I don't know. But what I do know is that in the IBF, now we're moving on to the IBF. Now the IBF champ is obviously Shurretta Metcalf, looking right on vacation. Okay. The number one contender for her IBF title, and she just got the belt. Lou DiBella punk ass just congratulated her like fucking 3 weeks after the fight. Like he was so busy. Um, and she's already got her mandatory contender in Diana Fernandez, who just won last week. And she's 33-4-1, a well-heeled veteran Fernandez is. And I mentioned Rios is number 7 in the IBF, Howling is number 8, and Wanyu is 11. Yeah, I've been pushing Brittany Sims, but we haven't been hearing much about or from Brittany Sims. So maybe I gotta change the partners at that firm. Maybe we need to add Wanyu Howling and Rios. But I just feel like Rios with that loss to Romero the way it was, she's got to, prove again. Maybe throw Rios in the mix with Wanyu and all of that because she's ranked number 7. So, yeah, maybe I want Wanyu and Rios because hey, I'm high on Wanyu. That's just me. All right. Um, Keeping it in the bantamweight division, but maybe this goes to super bantam. I don't know. But Fran Hennessey, and I like her. Young fighter. She just fought a tough. I don't know what shorty was, but she was a Latina Hispanic fighter. Hell of a fight where Hennessey had to really dig deep, put on a very gutsy performance. On the same weekend where Shannon Courtenay was returning after a long layoff and did not put on a gutsy performance, respectfully, looked a little bit of gutsy, like she could move to 122. And I'm saying that because her and Fran Hennessey seem to be on a collision course, and I just don't know if it happens at 118 or if it happens at 122. Very curious, but I got Fran Hennessey all the way. Fran Hennessey is matured as far as like when I look at young prospects like Maisie Rose Courtney and Fran Hennessey. I got Hennessey a little bit sharpened, if you will, just kind of that last fight she really grew up. But Courtney and Hennessey, a great name on Hennessey's resume, former contender like Shannon Courtenay. So yeah, if that does happen, I'd love to see it. Let's get into some news. I mentioned bantamweight, but I also mentioned super bantamweight. I'm hearing from Ellie Scotney herself. She mentioned as much on social media. She's moving up to 126. She's moving to featherweight in next year. So maybe if she doesn't get a fight or any good fights, she said Miyamoto was next on the list. We're all still waiting for that to happen, but maybe she's gonna move up. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. But if she does, could that mean a Sky Nicholson and Ellie Scotney? I don't know, but we'll definitely have to see. All right. Talking about having to see, we won't have to see, or at least we should see Katie Taylor vacating both the WBC and the WBA titles. I guess right at this bout, right when it happens. I don't know. I'll talk about it more later. But the significance of it is that, of course, Caroline Dubois becomes full WBC champion, which lends itself to a possible unification bout with Harper. Maybe it adds more credence to a bout with Alicia Bumgarner. Should Bumgarner decide to move up and take on that challenge? Who knows? Also frees up the WBA belt, which Jessica Camara is the WBA gold champion. She should be elevated to full status, and then the WBA international challenger, or international champion rather, Jessica Hahn out of Texas, El Paso, Texas. Either her and Camara will fight for that title, I'm guessing. So, interesting thing happened. And again, I love to see, because Serrano had been doing it long before, I guess, not anticipating the delays, but she definitely had been shedding the titles in the featherweight division. So now Katie Taylor is finally seeing it fit to do the same, and it helps women's boxing. So thank you, oh gracious KT. I appreciate you. Now let me talk about what may be happening in and around Boxer and Matchroom, because I don't know if just these promotional companies are just trimming the fat and thinning their rosters, but I gotta say, especially for Matchroom, has been the home for a lot of women's boxing, and I can say the zone has also have different promotional companies that also have a stable, a significant amount of women's fighters, right? Or some pretty significant women's fighters. But I wonder how, as these contracts begin to whittle away, who do you resign? As far as Matchroom, of course, they're going to keep Terry Harper. I think, of course, they're going to keep Sky Nicholson. Don't know if they still are or can keep Katie Taylor. I'm sure they may get a piece, but I'm sure she may be able to propel herself, do KT Promotions in Dublin, whatever she wants to do. Yeah, and Ellie Scotney, of course. Or who knows? Maybe Ellie Scotney could go to Queensberry, since Queensberry seems to be signing quite a few fighters. We'll talk about that in a minute. But before we do, let's look at Boxer. Boxer is also not really doing anything to support or help their women's fighters. Now, let me tell you exactly what. Natasha Jonas hasn't fought in almost a year. Lauren Price since becoming unified welterweight champion. Caris Audingstall since positioning herself to be a contender in the featherweight division, have all fought just once. Savannah Marshall is still in witness protection. Like, yo, she's more protected than Tekashi 6ix9ine. He out here wilding, and we ain't heard a fucking pin drop from her. So yeah, what's going on? Should both of these entities decide to shed some fighter contracts? As I mentioned, Queensberry could be the biggest player because, of course, they recently re-signed or signed Chantel Cameron, they revitalized her swimmingly, and they may have a little bit of surplus. They may have a little bit of surplus. So, definitely. Who else could be in play? I don't know. I don't really see. I think Queensberry could decide to absorb the bulk of the contracts of fighters who they're really interested in order to make good fights. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. So that's some of the news that's going on. Oh, forgot to say, Queensberry did sign super flyweight division contender, or prospect rather, Ruth Huntley. So kudos to them. Continue to build. All right. Now let's move on to the fight week. Of course, we got the big fight. The big fight, Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. I've always said in a rematch that nobody wanted, but we need it. We, women's boxing period, and especially this card, because the main event, it's more nostalgia than anything. Please have the medics on standby. But Taylor Serrano will be a barn burner. I'm rooting for women's boxing, but leaning towards Serrano. I think that's quite obvious. I'm a big Serrano fan. Nothing against Katie Taylor. Just don't like the fact that she's been on quite a bit of a robbing spree. She robbed Serrano in the first fight, then robbed Chantel Cameron. I cannot forgive her for those things. Thus, rooting for Amanda Serrano. Also on that card, you got a very interesting bout. Shadasia Green needs this fight. She needs a win. She needs a title to fulfill her legacy and position herself as a contender. And respectfully, within women's boxing, sometimes winning one title isn't enough. Getting the title gets you at the table to unify. At least when you're unified, you can talk undisputed. Undisputed gives you that solid legacy. We know that with Sinisha Estrada, Gabriela Fandora, some of the younger fighters in women's boxing that have become undisputed, that We know what it means. Alicia Baumgartner, we know what it means to become undisputed. What it meant, Jess McCaskill, to be undisputed. So undisputed means a lot. This is the first step. Not going to be easy. Melinda Watpool out of Canada with a good win over Natasha Spence. Common opponent with Shadeja Green. Some people would say Watpool had an easier win or an easier time with her, but Green's got to be on point. She's got to look good and make the judges believe in the confidence of her ability so she can put herself back in contention. This bout will be for a vacant WBO title in the super middleweight division. Of course, hoping for Green to get an opportunity either at Savannah Marshall or Franchon Cruz-Dezurn, preferably Savannah Marshall, then Franchon Cruz-Dezurn. Also happening this weekend, you got some bouts out of the Great White North. Kim Clavel, she's a super, excuse me, what do they call it? A junior flyweight. It's 108 pounds. So this is her first bout back since I believe the her last bout was a loss to no, was it a win? I don't know. Was it the controversial fight for Jessica Neri Plata? I don't know, but we need to see Kim Clavel back in action. I don't know if that rematch is going to happen. Probably not, but love to see Kim Clavel. Also, Marie Pierre-Hull. Hope I pronounced that right. She's a former welterweight contender. Most her only loss was to Sandy Ryan. I was gonna say most notable. And that was at welterweight. Now she's fighting at junior welter or super light, and she will be fighting Anissa Beaku. I don't know, but she's out of France, 7-4. I mean, the biggest name on her resume is Lucy Wildheart, who shared the ring with Michaela Mayer, Estella Mosley, and even Sky Nicholson. So something to watch for. Also out in Mexico, you got Barbie Juarez. I was trying to go say what was she known for, known for being busty and wearing a choker. And she's an old school legend. I can't front on her, but she's fighting Linda Leca out of Argentina. Should be a fun bout for sure. Juarez is a fun fighter aside from the aesthetic. And I'll leave it at that. All right. I think I got one more thing for you from Atlantic City. You got two young fighters, both of them recently turned pro earlier this year. You have Shara May Patricio out of Hawaii versus Sarah Click from Florida. Both of these fighters very young in their career. Patricio is the highly touted prospect, 2-0 with 1 KO. And Stacia Suttles from the Bronx, welterweight contender or prospect rather, 1-0 with 1 KO, made her pro debut in Atlantic City, returning to Atlantic City. Both of these ladies on a boxing insider card from the Showboat Hotel and Casino. So if you're in a neighborhood, do pop in and see what's going on with these ladies and those who might be on the card as well, yeah, so that's how we will leave it for now, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate you guys always for tuning in. Thanks for all the love. Thanks for the support. Don't forget to share this and have these discussions about what's going on. Keep your ears to the street and let me know. Let me know the same way I will come back and let you know, because women's boxing is boxing and boxing is this thing of ours, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you guys next time.